Welcome back to Persephone Says. This is an emergency episode. I've been warned by Mr. Lever to not go DEFCON 5 on this episode. However, we are going to talk about the recent article that was released by a publication that rhymes with, fuck it, it was Vogue. And it was the real budgets of Vogue weddings. And it has had our industry literally up in flames. And I actually believe for very good reason. You know, when this came out, it stopped me in my tracks because for a multitude of reasons. First of all, the comment section was entertaining as fuck. For all of you who commented in there, whoa, okay. But also because there were so many opportunities to right this situation, and with basically one of two publications that people still give a shit about in the wedding industry, Vogue has so much weight. And so there could have been so much greatness that came out of this. I also just want to caveat that this is not a hit piece or a hit podcast on the editor. I love Shelby deeply, and I think she's incredible. I think that this is actually exemplary of still trying to cover up or misinformation. It just perpetuated the spin and spiral of misinformation that Vogue had a wonderful chance to rectify. And I think that because it didn't land the way some of us would have hoped, it felt very disappointing. So here's what transpired. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link this article in the show notes. But essentially, Vogue published the real budgets of Vogue weddings. And it started off, especially on Instagram, and that's how it like blew up, with images and corresponding budgets that were low. And I think right off the bat, there was immediate issues. It started with a $40,000 budget, which, let's be so for real, $40,000 is not going to, a $40,000 budget, unless it's for 2 or 3 people, maybe, will not be featured by Vogue weddings. I would go with 99.9% of the time. Okay. A lot of the budgets actually felt like they might have been given to Vogue. However, the real publication, like the publication itself, is unlikely to share those types of weddings because typically now Vogue weddings are million-plus weddings or celebrity weddings or very affluent weddings. We're not talking about a backyard shindig. And I think that right there was like a, what the fuck is going on situation. I think the bigger issue that I had, which I saw a caveat to almost immediately, was that the images that were selected and the budgets themselves, there was a complete disconnect. The whole issue right now is that people want Pinterest-style weddings without knowing what those budgets are. And so there is, and if you happen to be someone getting married currently, maybe this will resonate with you, but there are legalities to sharing and publishing budgets plus photos for said budgets. These things are under NDA. These things are not for public consumption, but there is a way to go about it. I believe that could have been better because it just felt like it was precipitating this already existing deep underlying issue. So that was really hard. I think the other thing was that on social, there was a bunch of typos. Also, you're fucking Vogue. What are we doing here? That was really rough. It also felt like there was an influencer wedding who had shared some numbers about bridal fashion that they got for free. There were just things that were massively skewed. And then I think what was really tough to digest was that there were so many missing categories of what we were looking at, even in the article itself. And again, Nancy Narking, Samantha Roberts, love her so deeply. And she was saying, this is at least a starting point. And that's correct. It is a starting point. But there is a responsibility for accurate journalism that's holistic, that's showcasing a holistic picture. It is true that there are issues in our industry about budget and transparency. There is also confidentiality issues that we also have to address. There's also people who are just bullshitting and saying that they can make this happen on $20, right? There's so many different layers to this. And so I felt like it was almost like a was just toxic negativity, honestly. And I think, frankly, part of this entire situation is that is bothering me so much is that we are in an industry that preaches joy, and there's so much negativity that's going on right now in our space. And one of my very good friends, Malik, shared a post recently about like all the things that I love about this wedding industry after this one post went so fucking viral on all the things that they hate on in the wedding industry. I'm not saying to not have those conversations, by the way. Sorry, total tangent, but I do have to say this because it's really bothering the shit out of me. We want to build trust with couples, right? So that they have great experiences, so that our industry can continue to thrive and continue to grow and people can continue to invest in it. But by shitting publicly all over our industry and to think that your couples aren't going to see that in their algorithms after you've commented on it or you've liked it is a travesty and honestly a disgrace. Totally. Have those conversations privately. Don't shit on our fucking industry, period. Okay. So again, I also think that there's a balance to being able to be honest and not totally toxic and negative, because it pulls out all of these people just like, I don't know, if you don't like what you're doing, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Because a lot of us here are working our asses off to like bring happiness. I'm not saying that it's always lovely. I'm not delusional, but I'm also saying, I don't know, it's also not that fucking bad, right? Like we make beautiful things. We make art. Our industry makes art that disappears, like that living, breathing art. I remember Julian said that to me one time. It's living, breathing art that people get to experience and live in, and then it goes away. Like what? That's incredible. So I don't know. Let's go back to like center and remember what the hell is important. Okay. Back to, sorry, off the soapbox for this moment, just for this moment. Other things that just were like a little bit bananas to read in this article was that there was a pull quote about a planner experience or someone's experience rather with a planner where they called the planner a scam goddess. And I was just like, God damn it. Like, I'm sure there were lots of things said by that couple. And I just feel like that again was deliberate. And I think that there's ways of saying things without, the whole issue is that couples are going to see this article. The industry sees this article. It already creates so much friction, so much additional friction. And I guess even worse off, like now this is a source of truth for ChatGPT to pull from. And the price points for what a planner is paid was not accurate, period. Like they just felt so off. They felt so skewed on the low side. I'm also not saying to only show budgets for the ultra high net value clients. I'm not saying that actually. What I'm saying is like show variance and variation and truth. That's all. I'm parched, clearly. I think why this matters is that it's not just a typo problem. Obviously, there's just a lot of tension in our space right now. And when budgets feel incomplete, couples just feel blindsided mid-planning, and it erodes the trust in us and in our industry. But it doesn't do that for Vogue because Vogue is considered an authority. I think that the scam goddess comment was just particularly dangerous because it just validated the idea that wedding professionals are out to exploit clients. That was just, it was like, come on, you guys. And I'm not saying that there aren't people out there, but I am saying that, my God, I really hope that the majority of our industry isn't operating from a place of scumbag. It just was really hard to stomach. This is also not new, right? The wedding industry has been fighting for like the notion of like cost more because it's a wedding. Actually, and that narrative, right? Actually, this added fuel to that fire. And here's how, and here's the reality. And by the way, I had a roundtable conversation where we talked about the additional costs of setup and takedown and the guest experience. You want a higher number of people handling your guests because guest experience is really important for a wedding versus a corporate event. The emotion and the details are going to be completely different, and you need extra hands and extra staff most importantly, you need extra staff. It is going to cost more when you have extra people and extra staff. A plus B equals C. The other thing that I felt was just like, that was hard to consume was in that same pull quote, it mentioned that the couple didn't realize the cost of a tent versus something in a ballroom versus restrooms, like standing restrooms, et cetera. Of course they don't know that stuff. How would they know those things? Because this is the first time that they're doing it. The way that it read felt very negative versus, and maybe they did have a shitty planner, right? But I'm sure they had so many different people who submitted pull quotes and budgets. Like, oh God, it was just like, it made me super emotional and angry. You know, when you're like a little kid who's like, because the whole purpose of this space is to give real information, is to guide you on how to provide that information, is to champion you as business owners, as employees, whatever. And it was just like, for fuck's sake. Anyways, I think that what this discourse really revealed was that it created just a collective frustration across our industry, and it validated all of what people are already thinking and feeling. And we've spent years and years building this industry to be the level where it is right now. And there's so many people who are doing that ethically. Everyone's running their businesses differently. There is no standardization until that happens. And I don't think that is going to ever happen because we're in a creative space. This is what it is. It's just, I think because we are in a space that's also so emotionally charged, like it hits differently than building a home. It hits differently than interior design. It just does. I also think that we're using this as a mirror in a lot of ways. Like, why did this hurt so badly? We know that there is a transparency problem in pockets of our space, and Vogue just aired it sloppily. And this was just, both things can be true, right? We can have this issue. And then most importantly, I wanted to get on here to say, like, how can we do better? How can we educate our couples in different ways? And that's going to vary no matter what business you're in or what you're also comfortable with. But right now, there is a complete lack of information that is tangible for couples. It is our responsibility to not agree to something that's unrealistic. It is our responsibility to paint a dream at the same time. So there's balance to that. And a lot of people are doing this above water. So obviously, you know, those people that I'm talking about, I champion them deeply. I think from a wedding professional perspective, maybe publishing sample budgets the way that Nancy Narking does that. What if we were to do that? I don't know. I feel like it could work. I feel like depending on where you fall in the space, it could work. Or maybe it's just in your proposals or something that you share in your proposals that is not a takeaway type of item. I think that transparency will build trust. I will also say that as a result of a lot of people who are being very transparent, they're losing business. At the same time, they're gaining, half are gaining business, half are losing business, and then calling those same people who were honest from the jump. Not everyone's going to agree, as in your couples aren't always going to agree that to liking the information, but this is what it is, right? I think on the flip side, the agreement of not being honest and agreeing to a budget that you know these couples are going to just blow through, that doesn't feel right. That's where I'm like, if we get on the right side of this, we can right size it. I do think being so clear in your interview process and your proposal on what is not included, and you don't have to say it so abruptly like that, but I've been adding in my own proposals what's not included. There's lots of things that people think that my agency does for our clients that's just included as part of their scope. Be so clear on what is and isn't, because it'll come up. I think that how can we, in our own little communities, build vendor community standards? If we hold each other accountable, we won't leave it to Vogue to be defining it for us. And I feel like there's ways of us coming together, collaborator posts, conversations, airing those conversations, TikTok. There's so many different outlets that we can utilize that we can share our truth that we are comfortable with, right? Natalie from A Good Affair, she posted something the other day about ChatGPT versus reality. And I love this series. I reshared it because I'm like, there's so much misinformation. And the only information that's out there right now is actually old, decrepit, not information, as in thenot.com from 2012. It's insane. So if we build some level of bridge, if we build with real content, if we build with the truth, then we can combat all of this rigmarole nonsense. Okay, I think that a couple things I just wanted to leave us all here with is that what we want is basically better media coverage. And I think that the wedding industry deserves journalism that goes deeper, but we also don't need to rely on other publications anymore. We have the power to be responsible to share this information on our own. And so I really want you to share what is comfortable for you without it being so fucking negative. There are ways. If you want an episode that just focuses on that, I'm so happy to go so into the paint with you on exactly how you can do it, in addition to the ideas that I shared here today. I think Vogue has a platform and so do we. And the difference is we actually know what we're talking about. We live and breathe it. And so we need to use it. And so I would love for you to share this, tag friends, share it, follow, subscribe. I appreciate you all so much. And it's going to be okay. We just need to tell the truth and paint the true story that we're comfortable sharing, and all within the confines of what is respectful of past clients and also what is true for our businesses, so that we can really make sure that people feel equipped, secure, and also trust the process. So thank you for being here. As always, I appreciate you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.